Good afternoon. Welcome to Metaphysics My Perspective, and this is the Aura Clearing Session webinar. So we're going to cover a lot of things about the aura in this session. So get your snacks, your drinks, get comfortable if you're into this type of thing, because this is where you want to be at this time to learn as much as you possibly can about clearing the aura. I also want to thank all my subscribers and viewers, and whether you're subscribed or not, I do appreciate the comments, likes, shares, etc. You make it worthwhile me doing YouTube. I normally do tarot readings. I had other videos in regards to this type of topic, this type of content, which is my primary thing that I do most of the time. I'm an energy healer. I've been doing this for about, I would say, a little over 15 years. But I've always known that I was a healer. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. I woke up today inspired for some reason. I actually had to do one of these sessions this morning, and I just figured, it was time to do an actual webinar on it. That way I could attract more clients and, give back to society, in a different way. Also, let me know in the comment box what you'd like to, what types of topics in metaphysics you would like me to cover, as well as any other, questions, concerns, etc. that you might be interested in. The link I have posted up, if you would like to book a session for me, all through the screens of this video or the slides of this video. And I initially wanted to do it live, but I couldn't get my camera at the angle that I wanted it in order to, run this slide on my TV. So it's still not perfect, but I can at least go over the slide with you and explain what's going on. So eventually I will be able to do these live, and want that, it's a new camera, it's a new phone actually, and so I'm still working with it, trying to get it, everything taken care of. So with that being said, let's get it on. So. Alright, so the aura clearing session and why it's important. Alright, so most of you that would, even be interested in this knows what an aura is. It's not really something that I need to explain, but, as you can see basically here with my mouse here, this is a picture of, just basically us in general as humans. And this gives you an example of the 7 chakra system. Now there are many more chakras, much higher in frequency, that I'm not going to cover today, which that'll be another separate video. But first we start here at the crown chakra, then we have the third eye chakra. The crown is where your soul comes in when you're first born, okay? So this is why you have a soft spot here, and right in this area right here, in case just look at the mouse pointer. And that's also how we exit, when we dream at night, when we cross over, when we're done with this vehicle, because the body is just basically a vehicle. It allows us to experience this reality in the physical sense. And then you have other bodies, which I will get into in regards to, like, that surround the aura right here. That's what the colors also represent. So if you will, think of each one of these chakras as a dimension within itself. And each one of them is what you call a subtle body. So right here you have the crown chakra. And like I said, this is where the soft spot is on babies. This is why they say you gotta be careful with a baby's head. Also, this is why children are highly, more creative, more intuitive, more connected. A lot of people know that children, even when you were a child, you remember the imagination you had, and the imaginary friends and things like that. But most children, especially the ones born today, are more in tune. But when I was a child, I was very imaginative, and way before I started doing energy work or spiritual work, which usually suppresses around the age of puberty. And as your body forms and becomes more physical, you start to experience more of the physical sensations. You want to live the more physical life, the more physical experience. So the soft spot kind of heals, hardens, and things are not as open to you. But if you start, for some of you, if you start working on yourself, for the ones that already have, then you start to open the crown up. And so this is where you receive divine guidance. Now, if you see where that X came up right there, imagine a white light, or a portal, a tube of light that comes down from here and goes all the way down, if you follow that mouse pointer, all the way down into the earth. Now that is what you call your rainbow bridge, or your Anatakarana, which is, this is the way that I pronounce that, but it's the tube of light that connects you to your monad and basically your soul, your spirit, etc. And normally, you've heard the phrase, praying to the man upstairs. Well, around this area, this would be considered your higher chakras. This is where you connect to your God self, your God consciousness. And so, in a sense, when you're on your knees praying and you're looking up, this is what you would consider heaven, or the higher dimensions. And so this is where your God self, or your higher self, exists. And it basically can be brought more into the body through spiritual ascension, where your body fills up with more light. But normally this is where it resides. Now, if you don't work on yourself, this area right here, it closes. And so then you're basically just open to these chakras, these first three chakras down here, which is your root chakra. That's your survival, your physical experience. Then you have your sacral, which is your energy to create your sexuality. Also, this is usually where entities, things like that, they use a back door, if you will, these two chakras right here, because these are connected more to your sexual energy, your creative energy. This is where you attract more spiritual parasites to actually attach and drain this energy. Then you have your solar plexus chakra, which is your will center. These three chakras right here are the main ones that us as humans use. That if you're an earth sign, or you're dealing with a very physical experience, this is usually where you are cut off at, or this is basically the main three that you use. Sometimes less than that. Now, if you're someone that's always ungrounded, very flighty, fight or flight, live in fear, you're going to resonate with this root chakra more than anything. And you can. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Hold on just a second. All right. Just hit the wrong button. I think I hit that X up there when I went up there as I was pressing on it. But all right, so with these chakras right here, like I said, this is for your physical experience. And people that do not ascend or do not do any energy work, sometimes they just stay kind of, right around here. Now, the solar plexus chakra right here is, if you see the mouse pointer, this is your ego. This is, there's a bundle of nerves here in the physical body that connects to the brain. And so people that are somewhat intuitive, you've heard them say, I trust my gut, or I follow my gut, or it's a hunch. This is what's responsible for that, because those nerves connect directly to the brain, and this is where get the information, the gut instinct. Now, then spiritual ascension, or just someone that does energy work, or kundalini, whatever you want to call it, there's so many different names to describe it, you will start to open these higher chakras. And this heart chakra basically can be considered the bridge between the spiritual and the physical, or the lower animalistic self, human self, basically, that connects to your higher spiritual self. This is basically your God self, your higher self, all of this up in there. I mean, it goes higher, like I said, but this right here is basically, if you was just say that you were working on these three chakras, or these 7 chakras, and you just wanted to connect. Most people that get into any spiritual work, they will at least open some of these. Now, a lot of people in Facebook groups and things like that claim to be masters, and they're channeling people. A lot of that's coming from this chakra right here, the ego. They've never done the work. They listen to, And I'm not trying to, diss a lot of those people. This is not what that's about. I'm just giving you an example of what real energy work is and what it takes to achieve mastery. A lot of spiritual teachers that I've come across myself are right here in the ego, no further. Some move to the heart, and the ones that are really heart-centered, you can tell. You can genuinely feel that, even if you're not, even if you're down here in these lower chakras. Just say that you're somebody from the streets, and you just have some type of interest in this. You know a lot of people that's from the streets. You grew up in the streets, whatever, and they're in these chakras right here, mainly in the root chakra, which is survival, kill to be killed, all about money, these areas. When it comes to somebody, say like me, or somebody that's, that resonates with what I'm talking about, they're going to be around here in this heart chakra, Now, I went higher, but it's very, very hard to stay in these higher dimensions all the time, because we are here to experience a physical experience. And so we have to do the work to stay open to this. So that most people that get really, really high in spiritual ascension, they'll still open up all the chakras, but they'll resonate in certain dimensions of consciousness or awareness. And so a lot of spiritual masters and people like that will be, they'll be tuned in and whatever, or you'll have, and I've seen different ones. I've seen ones that, are straight from the ego, especially now because the vibration, the collective vibration is so low due to the outbreak we had a few years ago. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to really say it, but it has lured people. It's put people in separation, which is your ego. Me too. And the fact is, they say, the ego is what separates us from everyone else. Sometimes, as a spiritual master or whatever you want to call that, you will seclude yourself. You will separate yourself, and it's not necessarily ego. It's just, God does this for you, or the universe does this for you, or you get so high, so fast in your vibration during the ascension process that no one can resonate with you. And that's kind of where I am. And I exist. I still feel fear. I'm not above any of this. It's I still catch entities. I still this is duality. A lot of people will say they're in 5D. I know a spiritual teacher says, oh yeah, I'm in 5D, blah 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 blah. Like I said, we're multidimensional. So we constantly shift in and out. This is why the colors of your aura change. So multidimensional. So you can say, people will tell you all kinds of things. And the ones that have the craziest stories, it's not that it's not happened. A lot of those people are just so disillusioned. And I'm speaking truth and facts here, whether you want to call it my truth or whatever. It's just, from my experience, my perspective. Let's just say that. They will say, I'm in 5D, 7D. There's teachers out here that say that they can give you a DNA activation and put you into 3600D. I work basically primarily from a 15-dimensional level. So all the work that I do, for the most part, most of these sessions that I recommend and do, the webinars and things like that for 12-strand DNA, J-cells removal, things like that, 15 chakra system. I don't have a picture of that here, but I do on the other videos. And although that you can connect to the 15th dimensional chakra system, is basically where your higher self resides. It's up here, it's way up there. The reason that we work on that level is because you're working basically from the source, or the point of creation, from the start of creation, from your source. And you are basically unplugging neutral nets. You're changing programs, and you're doing it from the highest aspect, that you can. That I myself have been trained and done. Now, like I said, there's teachers that I know, so-called masters, that will deceive you, that have been trained the same way that I have by the same people, and claim to be so much more advanced. And most of the time, this is where discernment comes in. I don't want to make this video all about criticizing people, putting people down. It's not about that. I want people to be aware that there's still, we're still in between the transition stage of the Golden Age and the Age of Pisces. So there is still a whole lot of deception, and especially now because the vibrational level is low. It's always a death and rebirth. Anytime there's a massive change, you always have death and rebirth. And so there's a lot of deception. A lot of people that are claim to be spiritual masters and do not mind lying. They believe their own deceptions, their own lies. And me, I'm not like that. I basically do everything I could do to do right by people and do integrity, to act with integrity. And you can ask any, my reviews speak for themselves, as well as, my Etsy shop, as well as my clients can tell you that I go above and beyond to help them deal with their, situations and the issues that they might be facing at that time. So, and I've learned, because from my perspective, I have always attracted the opposite. And I'm not going to say I've never lied or anything like that. I'm not this holier than whatever person. But there are people every day that just baffle me in regards to the lies that they tell themselves and they tell other people. And if you are a spiritual person seeking mastery, and basically you're already masters, you just have to become conscious of the fact you want to stay away from these people, and be wary of people that, when they tell you, like I said, 36D and all these other things out there, they can do this, and they've got 47 swords that they can cut these cords with, and they've been anointed to the highest, most whatever, and they had a chance to ascend, but they were called back because of this. I'm telling you right now, no matter where your mind is, and I will tell you, a lot of this stuff, like, and I've said this in the JSO video, a lot of this stuff, it sounded crazy to me. But there are real, there are things that, that just are. It doesn't matter if you can wrap your rational mind around it. But there's just certain things too, when you develop discernment, especially after being lied to the majority of your life, and attracting illusionists and deceptionists and dark magicians in your life. And especially if you are a gullible person, or believe in the possibility of all things, the possibility of all things in existence, or if you're the type that believes easily because you yourself are honest, you might be gullible and you might attract these people. So it's really good to learn how to do this work, ascend, take training courses, learn how to be a master or teacher yourself, whether it's through me or someone else, or if you're just self-taught in the way that I am. I've taken training courses, but a lot of things I've learned have been intuitive, and they've been, things that I've learned or that I've remembered from my past life, or that I've awakened to in this life, depending on how you look at past lives and alternate timelines. And there's the belief of the multiverse, where everything's happening at once, which I can definitely see that happening. The 3D mindset, it come and goes. Today when I decided to do this video, I'm in a deeper vibration. So and it's because I did this session this morning, so it boosted me up. So I was able to get more downloads and more information, as well as the energy that's going on in the planet right now. But just be careful and learn discernment. Take classes on discernment. Learn to trust yourself, because when you're trusting everyone else, you give your power away. It's all right to go to teachers and things like that to learn something, but don't, follow them like the Pied Piper. Trust yourself and be your own unit, unless that's not, what you're supposed to do in this life. But you got to be careful. There's a lot of people that will tell you a lot of things. There's people out here that say they're channeling, Metatron, and you can tell because they will, it's not authentic, There's a lot of deception, and it's said that in the ancient books at the time of ascension in times like this that there would be a lot of false prophets out there, and there's a lot of people that I've tried to give these sessions to or give information to that are not open to it at all. They've never done any energy work, yet they claim to be these so-called masters. So, and even the ones that do, like I said, I've seen people that have done the work and that are every single day doing energy work, and they just are full of it. They are deceptive. They are hiding some type of trauma or inner trauma, and it makes them feel good to be something. And which everybody can understand. Everybody wants to be, for the most part, everybody wants to be recognized for their gifts, things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a total, normal human nature thing. But if you are willing to sacrifice your integrity to do that, or if you are willing to hurt other people in the process in order to get that attention, then you need to do some work on yourself. So, moving on, to this session. So, aura clearing session, why it's important. Why it's important is because the aura itself, through trauma, through lifetimes, through abuse, through pain, it becomes damaged. It becomes damaged by the electronics, the signals, the frequency, TV, cell phones, the food that we eat. It's constantly repairing itself. The aura changes based on our, emotions and which, chakra system or dimension that we are resonating in at that time. So if someone tells you that they are in 5D and they take an auric photo and you see nothing but red and yellow, they're not in 5D. 5D would be more in the heart area, more in the higher centers, things like that. But if they're in this, in these regions right here, they're and not that they are not a fifth dimensional human, or that they can't ascend to that, or that they can't raise their vibration. Now the thing about when they were talking about moving into 5D, they were talking about we couldn't move in there before because we were stuck in these lower dimensions. So this is 4D, 5D up in here, higher, however you want to look at it, okay? And so being stuck in these keep us at the human egoic level, and that keeps us in separation, or the illusion of separation, from our God selves, depending on what area of the world you're in, what spiritual frequency you're in at that time. There's always been masters, ascended masters on the planet, teachers that come to teach something that are always in the higher vibrations. So when the shift occurred, and people are still waiting for this big event, the event is occurring daily. It's already happened. This is another illusion that they're putting out there. It is a gradual shift that's been happening, but it allows people to move in rapid succession. That's what ascension is all about. It allows you to ascend up through your chakra system and ascend to a faster, higher frequency at a rapid succession while these energy portals are open up. That's what it's about. And for the ones that disappear, a lot of people will have that, hard-coded in their memory banks of, you ascend, and like Jesus, he disappeared. What ascension means when it comes to that is that you are moving so fast, you're vibrating so fast that you no longer resonate with a lower frequency. So those people, you will basically become invisible to them, or you will blink out of their existence, if that makes sense. So for the most part, you can do a lot of higher work, and in order to stay on those higher vibrations, you have to eat clean, you have to drink whatever, but still there's things around you that will bring you down, because the majority of the people are not up in here. So you're meant to experience life with people that resonate with you, and then if you don't, you'll find yourself secluded, or you'll find yourself separating yourself, or the universe will separate yourself in order for you to do the work on yourself to basically ascend without all this, without all these interferences. Because if you're on a higher vibrational level, but yet you're still around people that can see you, you're moving up and down, when you're interacting with them, in order to interact with those people that are on a lower frequency, you have to be able to, you have to basically, it's like, it's like a manual transmission in a car. You have to downshift to meet them. And, and trust me when I say this, when you're on a higher frequency, certain lower vibrational people, they can't see you. And sometimes, I've had this happen, and and I didn't know when this happened to me, I didn't know if I was just tripping or what. But there was another spiritual teacher at this time that were talking about the same thing, and like I knew them, but they didn't know me, they didn't know my experience, and they were telling me that they were at a picnic, barbecue or something like that, and the person that invited them there, which was basically in between both worlds, they were in a higher frequency and a lower frequency. They had to introduce them, to the other person because the people could not see this person. So basically, this person was invisible to these other people, and she had went up and said to these people that, hey, my name's such and such, and they'd never seen her. And when you're in a higher frequency, that's very common. So, case in point, an example of this would be you go into Walmart and you see these people that are basically just kind of out of it. We've all seen that. Some people, Dolores Cannon calls them background people. To me, I just see them as a lower frequency. But they'll run into you with their cart. Like say you've meditated, you just meditated and you went to Walmart and you're feeling, you're in a higher frequency and you feel great and wonderful, and you've, had your carrot juice, you've had your carrot juice or your I'd say vibrational cocktail, for the morning, and you're just high, high vibe and high flying, and you go into Walmart, somebody says, boom, hits you with their cart. That's because they didn't see you. And so sometimes that impact will lower your frequency enough so that they can see you, and they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes they still can't see you. So anyway, there's a lot to be said with this session, so I'm going to try to get to it as fast as possible. Feel free to skip through the video to find what's more interesting for you, but for some people this will resonate. Drink of water real quick. All right. So let's go to the next part. All right. So like I said, I'm trying to get the camera as good as I could in regards to fitting the screen, because I'm so. I know that you can do certain there are certain programs that you can use where you can do these webinars on camera. I haven't worked with them yet, so I'm just doing it the way that I know at this time. So what exactly is the aura? The aura is the unseen electromagnetic energy field that surrounds all living things. Which is true. Anything alive has an aura. But some things that are creative that is not alive have the energetic imprint of the aura that exists from the person that created it. Meaning an inanimate object can have an energy field around it if that person's energy signature is still tied into it. Like, say somebody created a work of art, but they're still very attached to it, the energy signature would still be, around it. So, fruits, vegetables. You can look up, I think it's Curlin photography. That's very interesting to look at meats and fruits and foods, things like that, because it shows you that, the auric field around it. And it actually shows you what's more healthier. It'll show you like a piece of decaying meat, health-wise, how that is for you, as opposed to like a piece of fruit that's steadily decaying, especially if it's organic. But that's why, like an example, you can tell we're connected to Source, and the people that are more connected to Source, like the people that have ascended, the reason that they're so healthy, for the most part, is because they have that direct connection to God. And that's why, we're kind of like batteries, if you will, when you think about what we eat and how we eat. Like when we eat, good things, we feel great. That's because we're basically taking a bite out of God, or we're biting, we're eating something that has the Godhead or the Spirit still in it. So therefore, we're taking that in, we're taking those nutrients in, those minerals, that energy, and it's becoming a part of us. That's why, when they say, you are what you eat, it's very true. If you eat, say, an apple, and it's got all this wonderful energy in it, and and it doesn't have all these chemicals in it, then you are gonna, you're gonna glow. And I remember one time I did that myself. I was just on a diet of like apples and oranges and just a little bit of fish, and I began to, glow, like an orange glow from these oranges. And I remember going into like Walmart, places like that, and people were just staring at me like they couldn't figure out what it was, but that's what it was. It was that. And I've also noticed with my clients that I've done in real time with DNA activations, it opens them up to source. It cleanses their energy field, it opens their DNA up, it activates it. And this one lady, she actually had breast implants, and the breast implants actually had exploded within her chest. And after the 12-strand DNA, I could see, with my third eye as well as my physical eye, I could see the white aura around her, and it was around her for a very, very long time. She ate pretty healthy and stuff, so her energy field was very clear for a long time. Eventually it started to, go back to the way it was because she didn't, meditate and things like that. But it's a very significant difference. And if you're like me, you will attract people that will try to bully you, or will try to do certain things, or they just don't like your energy. I have that issue with one of my landlords who, he doesn't like me, doesn't know why, and I can tell, I can tell it, I can feel it, and it's just because the vibration is just too different, Of course, if you were to ask him, it would probably be a completely different answer, but that would be his answer in regards to his frequency and his vibrational level at that time. But that's what it is. Two vibrational levels, two different vibrations cannot exist in the same space. So that's why, like, you walk in a place and somebody walks out, especially if you don't know them, or if someone doesn't like you and they leave, they physically can't be or stay. You've heard people say that, you probably said it yourself, I just can't stand to be in the same place as this person. Well, that's why the vibration is very much different. So electromagnetic. So your thoughts are electric and your emotions are magnetic. So electromagnetic. So your thoughts emit an electrical wave, your emotions emit a magnetic field. And so your emotions are basically what draws in things into your, into your experience, into your aura. So whatever the color of your aura is, it's basically what you're going to attract. So if you're dealing with a lot of red, you're gonna attract people that's on a fear-based level, or survival. If you're dealing with yellow, you're going to attract, some people might say the sunny side of people, but you're going to attract people with an ego, or depending on how you look at those colors, it can be, there's this, again, no matter if we're moving up to 5D, 15D, whatever you want to say, we're still in duality. You do, in a certain sense, move beyond the 3D world, but the fact is staying there, and it can be a very difficult task staying there. So that's why I recommend, like, if you can get these sessions from me or whoever, you can get, everybody does. There's a lot of people that do things. This is my Etsy link right here. And of course, you won't be able to click on that on the video, but I will put that in the description box. I said it on I'll put that disclaimer on the last slide. But unless you're there all the time and you're doing this work daily, constantly, and I do energy work every day, and it helps. But I don't always eat the best either, because we have our desires. We still want to enjoy the physical world, but I did for the longest time when the portal was, the Stellar Gateway portal was open from 2012 to 2017. I was like this all the time, and I started existing with people, and people's vibration actually raised with me. But I was out in the community, working with people, showing people everything I learned, and I inspired a lot of people. But eventually, as the vibration lowered, I couldn't exist within within those constructs anymore. I just found myself going places, and people took my vibration as competition. They started seeing me as a threat, and these were people that were inspired, but as their vibration lowered, that's how they started to view me. It was very hard to exist in those places, and then I started lowering my vibration or meeting them to match their energy, and it was just it was one of those situations where I just needed to get out and get away from that energy. So I live much like a hermit now, and don't really interact with a whole lot of people now. I do, like, as far as I get my interactions with people on social media, things like that, and my clients, and but there's a price to pay for spiritual ascension, and it can be a very lonely path. And when you're doing this work like I did, and I'm talking about 30 to 40 minute meditations daily. This is what I was doing, eating the best foods, doing the work, energy work, DNA activations, multiple DNA activations, doing this on people, keeping my aura completely clean. You'll find yourself, when you're doing it all the time, you will find yourself alone. But it doesn't mean that you can't do this every once in a while to keep yourself checked. Now, me personally, I feel like the world itself, if people just breathed, if they breathed and they did some of this work, you don't have to be extensive, as extensive as I was and whatever else, but if people just meditated 10 minutes a day, the world would change overnight. The police officers would be different, everybody's higher senses would be activated. When you made, if everybody was on that level, people wouldn't be nervous, people wouldn't be in fear, people wouldn't be, scared to die. There would be so many resolutions and epiphanies and things, and so many problems could be solved. But, there's a reason why we live in this experience, and why, we have to take the good with the bad, because, the darkness and the bad, and however you want to look at it, it leads us more to the light. So this is why when people believe, that you only have one life to live, I think that's ridiculous, because how could that be possible? How could you expect to get it right in one life? These religious people really got stuff messed up, because how could you really think that you're supposed to get it right the first time? You got one life to live, and the only choice you got is heaven or hell. Well, those are states of consciousness. And just like, when it comes to some of you watch Yellowstone, like Beth, where she was talking about on there, she says, I believe heaven and hell are here. She said, because one person could be standing beside another and be in eternal damnation, and the other one just experiencing the bliss of heaven. And it's very true, and it really takes a spiritual master, one that has transcended a lot of stuff, a lot of issues, in order to exist in the world as it is now. It's not that bad. When I go out, I can, interact with people and whatever, but I can say if I walk out of my apartment happy and I walk into a place like, Walmart or Kroger, I sometimes walk out in a lower vibration, because I tend to pick up everybody else's junk. And because of, and I do that because I'm a healer, and I can transmute it, and I know what to do with it. So be wary of that. Put up your protection. Some of the high vibrational people that are on the ascension path, protection really won't help you, because once you move into the heart center and things like that, you're not worried about being protection, because you're basically, in the vibration of love. So they can, like I said, for me, it's hard to stay in that all the time. I'm kind of there today because I've cleansed all the spiritual parasites and things like that out of my auric field this morning, but it can be difficult, And as I'm talking, my ears are ringing, so I'm getting constant downloads today. That session really it's really great. It's remarkable. All these things that exist within you that just, influence your behavior and change you. And then there's so many people that don't realize it. How many, I live in the middle of my town, in the center of it. And I live around all kinds of bars. And they turn up from Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, all weekend long. And that's all they do, and it's always somebody trying to escape from their problems. And, and me, I'm not perfect. I still try to escape, not as far as drugs, but, food, TV, video games, things like that. There's certain things that I do. No one's perfect, and I'm not judging these people I'm just letting I want to make other people aware of all the possibilities and the things that they're dealing with during these cycles. But yeah, I mean, it's all about escapism, and and me personally, I wanted a life and a job to where I didn't have to take a vacation from, and where everything was bliss, and it was for a while. But when I was going through this process, I was taking care of my father, who did his best to achieve ascension, and he definitely with my help, he definitely got far, but he didn't have the will to keep going and to keep doing it. And so therefore it was very harsh on it was hard on me to be in these vibrations and take care of someone and live with someone in order in order to help them. So there's a lot of sacrifices made. So but anyway, so that's basically your aura, and like I said, that will change depending on your emotional states and what vibration you're in. And the aura, we covered this a little bit on the first slide. The aura has 7 main layers. Think of it like an onion. Each layer is defined by a color which can be associated to the 7 chakra colors, basically the colors of the rainbow. Now, again, if you are in a higher state of consciousness and you're working on those higher chakras, it will change, and you will see multi-spectrums, multi-dimensional spectrums. So a lot of times, there's a friend I had that can see auras, and someone messed him up one time. They got him messed up on something, and it opened his third eye. And a lot of times when I was around him, he was always seeing white, which is one of the highest spiritual attainment colors, and as well as like if I was speaking, which is your throat chakra, he would see the blue. Or if I was thinking about something, he would see this, and it's basically what happens, wherever you're coming from, whatever state or emotional state you're in, or whatever you're doing, it'll change. Now, like I said, white is a very high color. It's the purity of God and Christ consciousness, but it does go to platinum. It goes to other feminine colors, many other different things, your aura, especially for the Ascended Masters. I couldn't even imagine, some of the Ascended Masters actually being able to take a photo of their aura, what you would see. But whenever I meditated and things like that, and I went around this guy, he told me, always. And I knew he was right because I knew what the colors meant. So when he just looked at my aura without knowing what they meant and told me what he's seen, I can see them now, but when he told me what he could see, it resonated with what I already know to be true and what vibration I was in at that time. So again, there's my link. Like I said, you won't be able to click on the video, but I will put it in the description box. It's a fairly cheap price. It's I use master numbers, so it's $44.44, so $44.44. And I have many other different things on there that you might be interested in if you are interested in this video, if you've made it this far. And each one of these, and I have to say, each one of these 7 main layers is a dimension, like I said, but it's a subtle body. So you have, you have your causal body, which is basically one of the highest planes of existence. You have your etheric body. You have your astral body, which is the 4th dimension. That's the sleep plane. That's the body you use to astral travel. Whenever you have near-death experiences, things like that, that's usually the body that people see or that you experience. I had a near-death experience like that where I came up on my body, and that's and I seen myself in 3, so it was 3 different bodies. It was like the Holy Trinity. So it was 3 different aspects of myself. One that was higher than I was, that was over top of me, my physical body, and then my inner child or my astral body. And and this was before my ascension, but this is one thing that helped jumpstart it. The thing I noticed, the part of me that came out it was the creator part of me. It was the inner child. It was the version of me that I remember as a child. And I remember floating over top of my body and just saying, cool, just like a very immature person. Instead of, I wasn't freaked out. I was hovering basically. So that would be cool to anyone really, if you think about it. But if you've seen the movie Ghost, very much like that, where your heart stops and you're out of your body, except in this case I was floating over top of it. So most of the time, whenever you hear people talk about their experiences, it will basically, if you study any of this stuff or study like, near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, it's gonna sound usually like something usually with a few different details or an alternate experience. It's usually very similar in nature, and even all the books that you read, and you can, like I said, if you have your discernment level, if you've worked on your discernment, you've done meditation, things like that, you will definitely see a resemblance. And it's not like somebody is copying off everything. I mean, you can tell, like if you're tuned in, you can, and you're into this stuff, you can tell when someone's telling the truth or not, especially if you're an empath. So all you empaths out there that happen to stumble upon this video, leave a comment and tell me if it's resonating with you. Tell me, am I speaking the truth? Tune into my energy. Am I telling the truth? Did this really happen to me? And if you're on the level, if you really are, and you're not some troll or something like that, you'll know that I'm speaking the truth. So, not that I need to prove anything to anyone. This is all about helping other people. It's not about the ego and things like that. But I like to give explanations on the knowledge I'm giving, so that I can explain to you and show you that I do have the experience necessary to perform these sessions and to help people and coach them in that way. So you also have a celestial body. There's a lot of different bodies, and so basically we cleanse each one of those when we're doing these sessions. And I'm not, I run my own business, but other people that do this, that do similar things that I do. All right, so what happens during auric clearing sessions? So basically, by using light, color, and sound, we are able to speak directly to the subconscious mind, reprogramming it to make adjustments to the auric field. And this is very true. We had this ego identity, which the ego acts as a protector, and so it protects certain things that people don't want to experience. So this is why a child their mind is like a sponge. They're in a learning experience. They have to learn what they need to basically navigate the physical world from from the people that they're raised by, or however they grow up. They learn certain things. We always learn, but as a child, your mind is much more like a sponge. Now, if you do meditations and keep your mind open and hypnosis, then you will find yourself being able to learn a lot more, because the ego doesn't get in the way. It's more relaxed. So if you're someone that struggles with learning affirmations, if you struggle with finding what you need, or to ascend, or you have to do the work, and by breathing and meditation, that's what's going to do it. When you breathe, you slow everything down. You can speed up the process by listening to alpha and theta waves on YouTube. That will put you in a type of meditation, because it changes your brainwave states, and this will move you more into your subconscious, and it will relax the ego enough to where you can be programmed. Now, we know this, a lot of people don't, but this is why when we fall asleep to music, or we listen to a song long enough, or if we fall asleep, or we watch a binge watch a TV show all night long, we'll have dreams about that. It's because those shows and the music and all that stuff, they basically have hypnotic tones. They're set up in a way that hypnotize us to the point that we can remember that, and then our subconscious, being a computer, basically records that information. And so that's why we have certain things that we can't get out of our head, if we're walking around singing the same song. A lot of people you've heard, a lot of people say they don't like certain songs, but they listen to it long enough, then they start reciting it. That's because they've listened to it to the point that their ego has become relaxed, and it's been repetitive. And so when that stuff is repetitive like that, it will program your subconscious. So then your subconscious basically is the creator of your reality. So everything that is recorded in your subconscious is what creates your reality. And this, and I'm talking about the traumas and everything that you've experienced in your life, your core beliefs, all of that, everything basically that was formed before you hit puberty and even through puberty. Because puberty is when the ego comes in and the soft spot at the top of your head starts to harden. And this is why teenagers, I've said this in other videos, this is why teenagers are so hard-headed, and they think they know everything. And it's crazy because I have a sister that is all up in her ego, and she has the rising sign of Aries. So Aries are like that. They're like the arrogant teenager. You can't tell them anything at all. And she's still like that to this day. Very fixed mentality. You can't tell her anything. She doesn't like any change whatsoever. Be careful. Be careful for fixed signs when it comes to trying to. If you're a teacher or you're in if you're into spirituality, be wary of fixed signs. Because and what I mean by this is if you're trying to change them, you're dating them, or you're taking them on as a client or whatever, be wary of that, because it can be very hard for them to change, and they really have to want to change. And for the most part, most of those Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo are very stubborn. They don't want to change at all whatsoever. So be wary of that, because those are not the ones to change. You want to if you're trying to teach people, attract people, make sure that they seek you out. Don't just try to take somebody on like a project. Especially if it's a lover or someone you're dating, because if they have any of this in their charts, especially with the main three when it comes to the sun sign, the rising sign, or the moon sign, which is your emotional self, if they're in their main three, it's going to be very hard to help them out or help them transition or change. All right, so by using light, color, and sound, what I'm saying, what we're using codes, basically, as symbols. So much like Reiki, in a sense, to where the subconscious, these are blown into the chakras, or they are sent, as a beam of light, or they are, basically what I do in these sessions, I connect to your higher self, and I tell your higher self through these symbols what I want done. And so I'm in direct connection with your higher self, and by connecting to your energetic signature, your picture, your birth date, who you are. That's why it's imperative, if you do book a session with me, you give me this information. Make sure you list that in the note, the note that you have the option to send me after your purchase. Or, if you don't see that, just send me a message and give me that information. That way I can make sure I can connect to you. Now, most of my sessions, I do those while you are sleeping, because that is less resistance from the ego. Now, the downside of that is some people have no awareness, and it seems that they have, this is just for some people, it seems that they have more of an ego when they sleep, like they're more protective when they sleep, or they have more resistance. So for some sessions I've done while people are sleeping, the reviews and everything they say are great, they're wonderful. But in some cases, people are not aware of any change whatsoever. So what I do in a case like that, I will send them a video like Theta or Alpha, and I will basically force them into meditation. Not force like physically force, but when you listen to a video on, like that, like Theta or Alpha, basically it like I was saying earlier, it changes their brainwave states. So therefore, it is easy for me to access their subconscious mind, their higher self, and change the experience for them, or get rid of these entities, or whatever, protection grid that these entities have formed within them. Or, a lot of people that have had Reiki or had distance sessions, had Reiki attunements, probably have noticed, especially air signs or like Virgos or people that are very analytical, you probably have noticed things starting to talk to you when you get these sessions. And the reason for that is because those are your defense mechanisms, or those are the entities, things like that. They do not want to be removed from their home, So in a sense, what we're doing is we are making everything that's, that we are basically expelling or evicting everything that does not belong naturally in your auric field when we do these sessions. So Hopefully that makes sense. If if it doesn't, just put your questions, comments in the description box, and I can answer them, or you can email me. I'd prefer more in the comment box because the email can be, overwhelming at times. What is involved in the process of the aura clearing session? Now, some of this I already covered, but it's basically there's a series of codes that I run on you that basically just changes your vibration. It cleanses your aura. The end result is something around this. You're filled with more light. You don't have any portals, wormholes, things like that would be interfering with this connection to source. And the thing is, when these things, if you see the mouse here, those just say that you have a spiritual entity, a worm, parasite, and it's in your energetic field. So let's say it's right here where the mouse is. It's basically attaching to your energy field and sucking your life force. So therefore, you're not receiving that. So it acts as a barrier or a block. And a lot of times it will happen on the left side, such as when it comes to the J cells, because the left side is more, let's see, that's the right side. I don't know if it's the left side on this or not. I have to. Anyway, I'm speaking on the left side. They're placed in the left side because that is your connection to source or to God or to your higher self. So these blocks and stuff are placed in there to keep you from that connection. Or if you came in to experience just the physical reality, the blocks are put in there before you were born, before you incarnate into the body, or they're placed into the Earth's magnetic field and can be subject to removal at a later time if you are meant to ascend or if you feel drawn to it. Now, a lot of these people that are on the ascension path, that are on Facebook, things like that, like I said, they have not done any of this. I don't know how they expect to get anywhere or get to a higher level by just listening to audio tapes, and whatever else, because you have to do the work. Some people just want something to believe in, And also be wary of anybody on Facebook, things like that say they're a master but do not show their picture, because most of these people, and I've had many of experiences with these, they're scared. They don't want people to know who they are, or they're scam artists. So if they don't have their picture, or they've got some crazy name or whatever, they don't show who they are, they're probably hiding something. And case in point, one person that I talked to, she actually admitted to me that she had a job and she didn't want people to know her business. Well, that means you're in the fear vibration because you're worried about people judging you and you're worried about losing your job. Now, when it comes to spiritual awakening, it's all about being your authentic self and living with integrity and showing who you are and loving yourself. If you have a public job and you're scared to be spiritual because you don't want to be judged, well, then you have some work to do. Whether you do it in this lifetime or another, but I'm just saying, this is just a perspective. Like I said, it's not so much as a judgment, but if you want to go and reach to your highest attainment, this is how you do it. By doing this work, by meditating, by pulling out all the stops, if you will. All right, so things that will be removed, or that that we will focus on removing in this session, are identities and personas. So these are the things that can be attached to you during astral travel or while you sleep. These can be things that are formed from different people that you hang around with, or identities and personas of when you grow up. And this can actually be deceased loved ones and things like that too, that attach to you, and or just identities and personas that's attached to your DNA. Some of these things are created from the beginning of your DNA, from the beginning of time, or from the beginning of your most recent DNA, however you want to look at it. And so those things need to be removed so that you can become your authentic self. Hypnotic contracts, these are things that you have agreed to do with people. Case in point would be like a marriage, people that are married and the person takes on a persona or a contract for to have a child or whatever, then the marriage partner figures out that they are not who they said they were, things like that. Also things that you're not aware of that you have been programmed with. Dark arts, dark magic, curses, hexes, spells, pacts, and bindings. Now these are things that are placed on you by jealous people. Right in this area, pacts and bindings, that's things like, say, if you're a witch, or things that you've agreed to. This could, pacts and bindings and spell, things like that. That could be like, a marriage contract. People bind you to stuff. A free spell. For example, when you use a free spell, you're binding certain things to situations. So you got to be careful. If you actually do this type of work, or if you actually use spells, pacts, and bindings, understand that everything has a consequence and a cause and effect. So if you are, me personally, I do use spells and things like that, but you have to understand I use the more white magic, as opposed to selfish energy or trying to harm people or hurt people. I mean, curses can be simply cussing people, cursing. When you curse somebody out, you say derogatory things to people, you are basically sending magic or spells to people, and you are influencing those people. And if those people are easily manipulated, or they don't have a strong protective ego or self, and they're actually emotional or vulnerable or empaths, you can really do a lot of harm to these people. So some people don't mind this, but the thing about that is, it's just you don't understand karma and the law of cause and effect, because everything has an effect. And whenever you're sending things to people and hurting people, you might as well be standing in the mirror and doing it to yourself. That's the way it works. Those are universal laws. You can argue, you can disagree. I had a Scorpio one time. Scorpios, usually into the dark energy a lot of times, or don't mind, messing with dark energy, which is, they're ruled by Mars and Pluto and things like that. But one thing they don't realize is that they're only setting themselves up for disaster. She didn't I told her, I was like, you're in your ego. If you really think that you can perform a spell on somebody, or send a spell to someone, and it's of harm, or it's to hurt them, and not so much as a protection spell. Like if you're using a freeze spell, you're basically freezing someone's ability to, an example, you're freezing someone's ability to cause you harm. And these things work, with freeze spells, because, I've used them on certain people that are just, bullies, or just, got certain energy issues or whatever with me, or just don't know how to act. And I remember one time I did one to where I froze the person's energy or negativity towards me, and I could feel it, like my auric field. I could feel it freezing within my auric field, getting cool. So it was kind of wild. And what that did, that confirmed to me at that moment that that person had been sending me negative energy, because I felt it within my aura. So you feel it around you. It's kind of wild. Golden web, tears, and scars. This is basically, this is just where things happen, emotional things happen to you, where you're attacked, and then it can happen during surgery and stuff too, where there be tears and scars. So you remove those and heal those. Hooks and cords. These can be from energy healers, people that don't know what they're doing. Reiki masters, people that, energy vampires that put their hooks into you and the cords, and they're, narcissists. They will basically hook into you like an energetic parasite, or the energetic parasite that they have within their auric field hooks into you, and it, feeds both of those people. So narcissists usually are not connected to their source. So they basically, this is why they manipulate you, gaslight you, things like that, and they will get a reaction out of you to basically get energy from you. It's power, control, and it feeds them. It's why they call it narcissistic supply. So we remove things like that, or attachment and energetic weaponry. Now this is just when people, there's things called anger spears, where people are angry and their energy is, it's like anger shrapnel, where they send certain things to you, and consciously they're not even really aware of it. Sometimes they are, depending if they're the dark arts, if they're the dark magicians, things like that. Portals and wormholes. These are usually, if you have sex addictions or drug addictions, a lot of times portals or wormholes can be opened. You have things like reptilians, things like that, that will hijack you from the fourth dimension, which is the astral plane. They come in through your sacral chakra. They will set up, some type of, base or whatever you want to call it. They will attach to that area right here in the sacral area, and they come in through what I call the back door. And they will, this is your sexual energy. People that have porn addictions, things like that, drug addictions, it all resonates right here. So when you are addicted to someone else, like sexually or on any level, just imagine this cord stretching out, multiple cords everywhere from these chakras, from the solar plexus, your will center. Narcissists a lot of times will connect here and here, and they will drain you. They will influence this chakra, and they will drain your solar plexus. So if you're walking around feeling weak, like you don't matter, like if you're dating someone that is made you feel like you don't matter or you don't do anything, this is working on these chakras is how you take your power back. Sometimes you don't necessarily need energy work. Some people just learn how to do this, but they're still doing the same thing in a way. They're just doing it in a different way. They're not going in directly through the subconscious, but they are changing the way they believe, and because they change the way they believe or meditate or however you want, whatever you want to call it, they still have a very similar effect. So people that you love, connections to certain people, they will attach here. That will drain your love energy. A lot of times we will protect this chakra and close this off so people can't influence this. Be careful by doing that though, because that can cause you heart problems and lung issues as well. The sacral, like I said, that's your kidneys, that's your bladder, that's all of your water organs. This is a water chakra. So an emotional chakra, this is the seat of your emotions. The solar plexus kind of has some of that, has to do with that too. Both emotions and negative energy are stored all the way here, sexual, and all these three areas. So they will attach, like I said, cords everywhere, entities. It's just remember this: life supports life. So the reason that these things are allowed to do that is because if you're on a specific frequency, they can suck into you, they can drain you, and you can just walk around oblivious to the whole thing. If you're feeling stuck, you can't move on, you feel trapped in relationships, you don't feel like you're in your power, you don't have any self-confidence, there's a good chance you have been attacked, you have been hijacked, or something's going on here and you need to strengthen these chakras. Okay. Sometimes you can just do this by eating good and actually working out. That'll strengthen your solar plexus and your core and all that, and then it'll make build a level of an area of muscle and energy that will protect that. Now, people that are fat in this area too, I'm fat in this area. A lot of times that layer of fat is to protect you from sensitive people, is to protect you from emotional eating. If you're an emotional eater, you'll eat sometimes and that will protect that area, but it can be hard on you and it will protect all that, but it also can be a hindrance as well. So occupants, entities, fallen angels, demons, the same thing basically. They will attach to you. People that are very angry, evil, dark, they will have more of the demons. Archangels, fallen archangels, however you want to look at it. This can be grays as well. Not that grays are that, but a lot of times they will come into the form that you're most used to. Aliens, entities, whatever, occupants. Anything that occupies these chakras or occupies your energy field and calls it home without your permission. And they, like I said, they really don't have to, because and I've used this analogy and metaphor a lot of times, that a tick, like a physical tick, doesn't have to ask your permission to suck your blood. All it does is have to hijack you. And so there's a reason why these things, like I said, are in place and why they can't exist. And as above, so below. So there is as many parasites and things that exist in the physical world. There's more or the same amount that exist in the spiritual world. So no matter how crazy it sounds, or you might judge me or the people that are that laugh at this or whatever, it's very true. You think about it, just use use common sense. We have spiritual bodies, we have physical bodies. Everything is a mirror to one another. So disincarnates and earthbound disincarnates are basically people that haven't crossed over. This could be someone that attaches to this solar plexus here that died with an addiction. They find someone that's a energetic match like yourself. Say you're addicted to sex, they will attach to your energy field and siphon the energy from you, or they will still be able to get the same experience as they was when they were alive because of that. The same thing with a smoker. Someone that smokes will probably have entities that smoked or died of lung cancer that was afraid to cross over for some reason. They didn't go to heaven, they didn't whatever, and so they still they will attach to you and remain in your energy energy field, living out the dream within your energy field. So the whole idea of this is to put a no vacancy sign over your auric field and stop allowing these things to hijack you and become the greatest version. That's why we do these sessions. That's why us healers exist, are the ones that have integrity. False guides can be, attracted to you by your vibration. So they will attach to you and give you, information around this, that is not accurate. They will tell you things that are not true. This can also be thought forms that you create by thinking of something over and over again. So it's very hard to clear a lot of these things out of your energy field. You really have to, the more specific you are when doing, say, meditation, the stronger the intention, the more specific you are, the better chance you have of clearing these things out. So, and this is if you're just doing it by yourself. But these things help. So if you are interested in this type of session, just book a session with me. I'll be happy to help you out. I thank you for watching. I know this is a very long video. It's 110 minutes, 49 seconds in. Like I said, just, skip through what resonates with you. Hope you learned something about all this. If you don't get a session from me, just get it from someone. Whatever you're drawn to, and let me know what you think about this video. And I'm at 111.11 right now, so you can tell it was definitely the divine has definitely inspired me today. So, but anyway, thank you again for watching. Check out my other videos on YouTube. I appreciate your likes. Go ahead and like this video. Let other people see it that's into the same stuff. And I hope you have a great one.